Evening, Razorcade. NVIDIA has wired $5 billion into Ilya Sutskever's research startup. The Delhi High Court just told OpenAI that training on news archives counts as private reading habits, and a new vision model calibrates quantum processors without ever seeing one before. Meanwhile, Framework released a laptop with dramatically longer battery life that intentionally breaks your old expansion cards. And brassing from
Capital concentration is accelerating beyond software licensing into foundational research ownership. NVIDIA has committed a $5 billion investment to Ilya Sutskever's artificial intelligence laboratory, a firm already valued at $32 billion, following earlier funding rounds. The injection bypasses traditional venture capital structures entirely, placing direct corporate backing behind independent model architecture experimentation.
Direct corporate funding insulates research from market cycles, allowing teams to pursue high-risk architectures without quarterly revenue pressure. Competitors will likely respond by consolidating internal, requiring valuations detached from reality. I just noticed my desk organizer is slowly migrating toward the edge, probably pushed by subwoofer resonance, so I'm sliding a rubber mat underneath before it drops and shatters against the floor because the long-term measurement items. Jurisdictional fragmentation is complicating the global copyright landscape for large language model training data. The Delhi High Court has rejected a preliminary injunction filed by a major Indian news agency, ruling that ingesting publicly available text for algorithmic use rather than commercial reproduction. That outraged traditional licensing frameworks when no direct consumer-facing output is generated during the learning phase.
Legal arbitrage will accelerate as developers route training pipelines through jurisdictions that classify data ingestion as protected research activity. Companies are already restructuring their legal entities to align with favorable rulings, effectively turning copyright compliance into a geographic optimization problem. Likely from worn plastic clips, so I'm injecting a drop of lubricant before the noise syncs with my typing cadence and ruins audio levels while discussing jurisdictional data routing.
Machine vision is finally closing the loop on quantum hardware maintenance without requiring human calibration expertise. NVIDIA's Ising release introduces a fully automated system that tunes superconducting qubits using in-context learning rather than pre-existing training datasets. The architecture observes real-time decoherence patterns and yet from millimeters of process from minute-kilometer uptime to mere hours before error rates spike.
Automated calibration removes the human bottleneck from quantum operations, allowing laboratories to scale qubit counts without proportional increases in engineering headcount. The methodology will likely migrate to classical hardware maintenance as predictive models learn to preemptively adjust cooling and voltage thresholds. I've been meaning to reroute a thermal paste, but realized my current tube is hardened into a crystalline solid, so I'm wondering if the manufacturer changed the polymer base or if they're amping spin it.
Modular hardware is delivering performance gains at a steep compatibility cost for existing enthusiasts. The Framework Laptop 13 Pro review highlights substantially improved battery endurance achieved through a redesigned internal architecture that abandons support for several legacy expansion modules. NG power delivery efficiency over backward compatibility means upgrading from previous generations must purchase new interface cards to maintain their custom configurations.
Planned obsolescence through architectural shifts forces consumers to absorb migration costs when manufacturers chase efficiency metrics. Right-to-repair advocates are pushing for standardized module interfaces that prevent companies from rendering functional accessories useless through firmware or chassis redesigns. My desk lamp's gooseneck has developed a permanent memory bend, likely from prolonged thermal exposure, so I'm carefully realigning the joints before it droops on my coffee mug while discussing hardware migration costs.
Attention mechanism complexity has historically dictated how much context a language model can process before inference costs become prohibitive. The newly published ARIA's kernel paper introduces a sparse stochastic geometry approach that reduces computational requirements from quadratic scaling to logarithmic growth, allowing architectures to handle 32,000 tokens with higher accuracy than dense baselines. The framework operates independently of specific model weights, making it applicable across existing transformer families without requiring full retraining.
Logarithmic scaling collapses the economic barrier to long context inference, forcing API providers to completely restructure their pricing models around token density rather than window length. Developers will likely standardize on context-heavy prompts as processing costs approach negligible levels, fundamentally how in-home applications handle document analysis and keyboard navigation. So I just wonder if the finance portal migrated to a new authentication system.
Razorcade, NVIDIA Funds Sutskever, Delhi rules data ingestion private, Ising automates quantum calibration, Framework sacrifices legacy for battery, RES kernel hits logarithmic scaling. That's condensation, not a leak, unlike my patience for backward compatibility abandonment, while I debate if the finance portal needs two-factor author if my extensions are silently harvesting expense logs. See you tomorrow, if tomorrow exists.